So what we discussed last class is the idea of superstructure, right? Superstructure. Sorry. Superstructure is just the macro picture of a society. It's demographics. How many people are there? It's economy. It's politics. It's religion. Okay, and we discussed how societies are born, they mature, and then they die. Okay? So there's actually another way of understanding this. You can actually use 3 metrics to understand how societies develop, okay? And these 3 metrics are cohesion, openness, and energy. Okay? So what is energy? Energy just means you want to work hard. Okay? You believe, you're motivated, you're driven, you work hard all the time. And working hard just doesn't mean like you work 12 hours. It just means like you're focused, you're attentive, right? So for example, if you're working at a restaurant as a cook, you want to make a really good meal. Okay, you're energetic about it. Okay, does that make sense? That's energy. Okay, so openness just means that you want to learn, you want to grow. You're willing to admit you made a mistake and improve on yourself. Okay? And the last thing is cohesion, where you see yourself as part of a society, part of a community of people. And you want your community to grow as well. And when you have all 3 things together, the schools are great. Okay? And so for example, go to Finland. It's a small country, maybe about 5 million people, but the schools are amazing. Why? Because Finland is an energetic, open, and cohesive society. And when you hear that, what you want to do is invest in the future. And what that means is you have to make sure that every child, not just your child, but every child has good future, has a good education. And so what you do is you have your best and brightest become teachers, right? You pay them very well. You give them high status. And you give them a lot of autonomy and freedom because then they feel respected. And if you do that, the schools are great. And guess what, guys? In China, in maybe the 1980s, the schools were amazing here, okay? What we're seeing today is today. But if you go back to the 1980s, the schools were really good. If you went to a school in China, I'm not talking about like the best one, I'm just talking about like an average school. Teachers felt respected. They believed they had a responsibility to train the young. They took pride and joy in their work. And the students enjoyed learning. And guess what? Back in the 1980s, kids did less work. There were less tests. There was less pressure. And they learned a lot more. Okay? So when a society starts and begins, you have these 3 aspects. But over time, what happens is all 3 decline. Why? Because there's more corruption, there's more inequality, there's more wealth. Okay? So what happens is wealth generation and inequality, corruption. And so people feel under stress. Okay, so rather than cohesion, you have individualization, individual. Okay, does that make sense? Where everyone's like, you know what? I don't care if other kids are doing well. What's important is that my kid does well, because it's a zero-sum game. If all the other kids in the school do really well, but my kid flunks out, I'm dead, I'm screwed. So I'd rather my kid do okay, and every other kid gets screwed over. Okay, so now it's a competition in schools. All right? Openness. Are you willing to learn from your mistakes? And the answer is no, because if I'm an administrator and I say to parents, I'm sorry I made a mistake today, the parents will be like, you're fired, get out of here. You're incompetent. Okay? So you could be like the best person in the world, but if you make a mistake, the parents will come and kill you. But if you could be the worst person in the world, but you just hide in your office, the parents can't find you, you're okay. Okay? So school administrators are now afraid to admit they're wrong, which means that a school can never improve. Right? Then you have energy, which is like, you know what? If I do a good job, parents will want me to do a better job. I can't please all the parents, so I'll just hide in my office, do as little work as possible, and then if parents complain, I'll just shut off my brain. Okay? And this is happening because of wealth generation. 1980s, China was really poor. And the only way to lead a better life is through education. That's why students work hard. If students work hard, teachers are motivated to teach well. And now you have in a time when, today in 2025, 26, when parents have money. So it doesn't matter if you don't do well in school because your parents can just give you an apartment, can buy you a car. Who cares if you do well in school? So you're not motivated. If you're not motivated, you're indifferent, then as a teacher, why am I going to want to teach well? Okay, so it's a superstructure of society. Okay, does that make sense? All right, any more questions? Okay, so thank you, okay? So again, superstructure determines the motivations of the players. And where the interests of the players converge is the game that you have. Okay? All right, so you go back to this list, and what we're seeing is parents just want white faces. Okay? Sorry, white faces. And they want successful kids, which means good grades. Okay? Teachers just want to get by and do as little work as possible. The administrators just want to protect relationship with parents, okay? And so when you do this convergence, this is what the schools look like now. Okay? Schools in China. International schools in China, by the way. And again, this is like the majority. I'm not saying it's every school, but I'm saying it's the majority, okay? What you have are white faces, easy grades, right? It's really easy to get a good grade, all right? Some top students, these students are given scholarships, and then they're sent to top universities. Okay, then you have lots of cheating, okay, and high turnover, where students leave, teachers leave, but new ones come in, so who cares? Okay, and this is what it looks like. This is what happens when you take the interests of these different players, you converge them together, and this is what schools look like today. Just lots of white faces, lots of really nice buildings, lots of fancy activities, great marketing, beautiful website, really motivated admissions officers. Then you have easy grades where everyone gets an A, no matter what you do. You have some top students who will get into good schools so that the school can brag about them. You have lots of cheating going on. Okay? If you don't get a good grade, just complain and you get a good grade, okay? So that happened to me at the school where I tried my first year to give fair grades, okay? And a fair grade is not like, I give you a 20, I give you like an 80. And students complain about me. So I'm stuck giving them like a pass-fail, right? So it's not hard for students to pass. If you don't like a teacher, just complain, and then the teacher has to change. And so now you have high turnover where teachers feel stressed out and where parents are never happy and where students don't care. Okay? Doesn't make sense. This is why schools suck. And I'm saying they suck not just in China, not just in other schools, but in most places around the world. And it has to do with the superstructure of society. Okay? But I mean, like, the point of today's class is not like schools suck, don't go to school. The point of today's class is we're trying to analyze why schools are the way they are. And one way to analyze it is by figuring out at what point, okay, do the different players converge, right? So think of, you have different sets, right? Okay, parents, teachers, students, government, colleges, okay? And their convergence point is the game they play. Okay? Now, what's important for us to understand is that there is actually a lot of room to this convergence point. So it's possible to do reform, but only within a subset of this convergence point. Okay? So my problem is, back in 2008, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna set up a new universe, my own world. I'll make up the rules, I'll be God, and you just have to play the game I tell you to play the game, okay? And that's why everyone is like, you're an asshole. Okay? Whatever you do, whatever game you set up, has to be within this convergence point in order for players to accept it, okay? And this is true for everything. If you want to implement political reform anywhere, you have to figure out where the different stakeholders converge and figure out how to move the stakeholders from one part of the convergence point to another part of the convergence point, okay? This slow incremental reform. Okay, does that make sense?